Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, July 18th, and here is a look at our S&P futures. This is the SPY futures chart. Marked it up a little bit last night. I'm going to go over and talk about this real quick, but you can see that we are moving to the north side here as we go into the open. Bitcoin giving us a little bit of a move to the top side as well. We put in a higher low here. We have not yet put in a higher high. Well, maybe we did sneak in a little bit higher of a high there. Really close. Need to see a nice strong close in that to believe in any reversal there. We are seeing some interesting moves here in the Nasdaq chart. So this line, I'm going to go in and show you this one as well. This came from a weekly chart, but you could easily take and draw this like this as well. And you can see that we actually did put in a lower low this last week on one of those days, but we've also made our way up here at almost a higher high. So we're still in this. We have not broken our overall down trend. So, but here people will probably look at it and say, well, look at this, but we're working our way. We're working our way up. We're working our way up. Yep, we haven't made it there yet, and I'm going to show you why I believe that. Okay, quick look at gold futures. They're still just kind of hanging around, not doing much. The strength of the dollar keeping gold a bit at bay. And oil, it came back down here, and overnight when I did happen to take a look overnight, I did see that it was lower here down toward that 200 moving average, but it is making its way, fighting back up. These could be bear flags, right? We've seen 1, 2. Is this the third one that's going to play out as a bear flag? We don't know yet. The pattern isn't confirmed until it's complete, which means we've already moved through it. Now, a few things moving this morning that I think are definitely helping the market. We have Goldman Sachs on the move. Their bond, they had their earnings this morning, and they have topped earnings quite a bit, and a lot of that was due to bonds. Their strong bond trading results. So I went ahead and put in a post about that, but you'll see the Dow is really moving also on Boeing. Delta is buying 100 Boeing planes. So there we go. It is 100 of them. That's a lot. I mean, we might think of it like, oh, well, you know, if you're trucking, you buy 100 trucks. It's not a big deal. Well, we're talking planes here. 100 planes from Delta. That is giving Boeing that nice move. And we had talked, last week I talked a lot about Boeing. There was something cooking in here, and we felt kind of like that pressure as all these moving averages came together. We popped topside, we took a nice break, and I told everybody this is a beautiful bull setup, and now we're seeing the news play out. Real quick, I want to touch on Roblox. I am in Roblox, and this morning we're seeing that move. It is up above Friday's highs. I have my sell set in there, so if you go to the current holdings options under Heather's resources, you will see my sell that I have set in here. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to pop this over here. Right, my sell, I have it set at 430. I won't be here for the open, and I want to catch any nice move that we have going on. This is a bit more aggressive of a sell, but you can make your own decision. Maybe I only have half a position left. So I took the first half earlier with profit, so I'm going to go ahead and let this play out. I also have Merck. I set that at 360. That too is a bit more aggressive of a sell. It is green this morning, but it's much more muted. All right, so let's pop back over and talk about the futures chart. And in the SPY in particular, I know it's kind of messy here, but when I draw these lines in, we look at price action. It's not just the daily that we're looking at. We're looking at a weekly chart. This to me is a very, very clean picture. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So we saw this bear flag, right? This was a lot of waterfall candles, several weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of downside close. Every week that we opened up, we closed lower. Got 1 week of a rest, and then we turned right back around and put in 3 weeks of a lower price action. Now, are we bottomed out here? I don't know. We don't know until it's all done. What I can tell you is that on this move here, it's not giving me a lot of confidence that we are ready yet to reverse the trend. Why do I think that? We can't get over the 8 EMA. We've put in lower lows, right? We had a couple higher lows, but now we've put in lower lows. We've not been able to break to a higher high. That's telling me that the market is waiting. Now, what is it waiting on? Maybe it's waiting on earnings, right? We have all of these earnings this week and next week in particular, huge, huge earnings. So pay attention to that. These Goldman Sachs, really opposite of a lot of the other bank earnings, like we saw JPM miss. Citigroup actually beat. We played that last week. That went really well. But we have seen a lot of these really, really just fail. So we want to see those other big names. What is Microsoft going to say? What is Google going to say? What is Apple going to say? All of these names that are really weighted in our markets. What are they going to say? What is their forecast? What are their margins? What do they have in the pipeline coming out? It is a lot. So we're looking for those earnings per share and dividend buybacks. We did see several banks actually stopping dividend buybacks, or sorry, not dividend. They either halted, minimized dividends, and they've pulled back on their stock buybacks. We want to see those stock buybacks stay in place because that is a bullish indicator. Okay, so this is what the ES looks like. On the Nasdaq, still on a weekly chart here, a little bit different of a picture. You can see here, bear flag. Tech led the rally up, and it also led the move down. And now, why is that? Well, as we started to hear more about interest rate hikes and inflation, growth stocks, so our tech stocks, are the ones that get hit first. Okay, so we are now putting in a little bit of a base here. Is it going to hold? I don't know. And everybody who has some kind of prediction, I think that is a really poor way to pigeonhole yourself into a very myopic view. You don't want to do that. You want to keep your mind open to every possibility that might happen. Follow the price action. Now, as I look at the Nasdaq here, I think this is a bit more bullish than the SPY chart, the SPY future chart. Why? Well, because we keep fighting back up to these higher levels here in the Nasdaq. We are sitting in a large volume area, and we're just accumulating more volume. And we held after this, so this was a beautiful bull flag that somewhat, it took a little bit to play out, but it did. But there was a lot of buyers in here as well. So what we're seeing here, we've seen a ton of selling. Our buyers going to step back in, really push this, and move to the top side. I don't know. I do believe an awful lot of it depends on what our earnings say and what the Fed does. Are we going to get another 75 basis point? We did hear some talk last week, and it certainly feels as though maybe they put the signal out there that they are not willing to do a 100 basis point rate hike, which I think is good because it really will probably freak the market out. But 75 basis points, raising rates into a weakening market is always a very dangerous place to be. Now, do they need to raise rates? Yes, they do, because they need the tools back in the toolbox. They've scattered their tools, they left them out, no one made them come put their toys away, and now that is exactly what we need to do. Unfortunately, it's at a terrible time. We should have been doing it all here. Well, it doesn't matter now because we're here. So we can't go back and pretend that, okay, well, we raised rates here. Nope. So we're waiting till this happened. We still have high inflation, but we are seeing a little bit of topping in certain areas. If you've been to the grocery store yesterday, went to the grocery store to pick up some milk for the little minions, and prices have come down a bit. So that's 2 weeks in a row now that prices have come down on some basic things at the grocery store. So is that a signal? Maybe. We actually need to see a real trend of that. If we start to see that inflation data for next month come down, take a little bit more or take a pause, I think that at that point we may see that we have hit at least a midterm bottom. But remember, bear market rallies are beautiful rallies to play, but don't get stuck thinking one way or the other. Leave all opportunities open. Okay, but going into today, want some day trades? Go hit Boeing. This Boeing chart, this is the weekly on this too. I mean, really, it is just absolutely beautiful. Bitcoin names. We'll pop back over here to the daily. Bitcoin, real quick, I do want to talk about this for a minute. I know, I just got completely sidetracked here. But Bitcoin, this is the weekly chart too. And this is a very clear picture of just the pressure that it has been under. You know, we've had a bearish gap, right? We're sitting below the 200. Here's my thought on Bitcoin. If we don't make a constructive move over the 200, over the 8, and pull these moving averages back together, they will come back together. That's just what moving averages do. You can see here these moving averages got nice and close, and when they popped, well, they popped to the downside, unfortunately. But I do believe that this is not, I don't think Bitcoin is a failure. There just needs to be an awful lot of regulation. They need to kind of figure it out. But until we get back up over the 200 here and start making a constructive view, I would just day trade this. That being said, today I think is going to be a very good day to day trade it. It has some pretty decent movement in it, and I can't find, there it is, right? So on the daily, we do have that squeeze. We're popping to the top side. We'll see if we can hit that 34 and then the 50. But this nice little double bottom look here, and we'll see if we can close on a higher high over all of this mess. So day trade opportunities in there. So names like Mara, Riot, BITO. There's a bunch of them in here. GBTC, right? HUT. So mining as well. So that's a mining stock. So we'll keep a really close eye on that. I already mentioned I'm in Roblox. Roblox seems to be taking a nice little look here. I'm going to play it a little safer with something that moves super liquid. Apple. Play these on an opening range break. Do not take them and just blindly take them at the open. Let it set up. Let some of this news, overnight news, set in, right? Because we're going to see probably some selling come together. Goldman Sachs and Boeing in particular really are what's pushing the Dow up. And the Dow is sitting up at about 260 here as we go into the market open. Nasdaq at about 114 points. So there is a lot of a lot of excitement going into today. Let that kind of drain out a little bit. Give yourself, you can play off that 5-minute candle, but then at the half-hour mark and that 1-hour mark, those are really good places to say, okay, the market's settled in. We've kind of moved the needle, digested the news, and now we can get to business. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be out first thing here in the morning because I have a meeting at Skylar School, so I will be out first thing here this morning, but then I'll be back, and I'll be back for the rest of the day. All right, that's it for me here. That's what I think about the markets. Took a little bit of a leg down here, but I'll make a bet we push this right back up into the open. Screen share will be up while I'm gone, and I will see you after I get back. I hope you have an awesome day. If you have any questions, Heather C. at givingtreetrading.com.